Hey guys, it's Utah Johnny Lange. Thanks for coming back to the channel. So today we're going to take you back 11 years ago to my BMW E30 build. Now, I didn't do a lot of video recording back in the day when I was building this project, but I have a lot of photos, so we're going to do a little old school photo presentation. I'll walk you through the build and hopefully you enjoy it. It's a cool car. It's still around. I won't tell you which friend of mine bought it until the end, so hang tight. Let me know what you think. So there it is in all its glory, the 1986 BMW 325 ES. That's right, the E, the economy version, the slow one. This is how the car looked when I went to go look at it, and had some really neat things done to it, primarily metal bodywork that interested me. I thought there's great potential in this car, and the price was decent. I let him keep the chrome wheels, and I brought it home. And when she was home, I started going through the car, making a list of things I needed to do, went through it, cleaned it up, and started to think of ideas on what I wanted to do with this car. So as I mentioned, there were some really cool things, metalwork-wise, bodywork-wise, that had been done in this car. And there was also some kind of really weird things, like the hood. Not sure where the guy was going with this, but I decided to scrap the hood and do a carbon fiber hood. Now with any of my projects, I always like to do a real baseline cleaning, detailing, so forth. It's kind of like starting, with a new canvas, and that's what I did here. After I got the car all cleaned up, I started removing that horrible purple window tint, and that was just not much fun. I cleaned up all the door panels. You can see the 50-50 shot here. And also when I bought the car, it had this really bad differential clunk in it. First thing, I decided on checking the fluid. Everything looked good. I think it was just really worn out. So I ended up sourcing a replacement unit, and it happened to be a limited slip differential, which is always a good thing. So I put that in. Oh yeah, and how'd that get in there? That's my little V8 Volkswagen Beetle. My little car ADD sunk in, and I ended up buying this at a flea market. I never finished it, so that's that. Next, I ended up buying some parts for the E30. I was able to get some really cool Apex racing wheels, and of course picked up a roll cage and some ground control coilovers. These are just awesome suspension setups for BMW. Ground control has been around for quite some time. This particular setup, you had to utilize the existing front strut housings by cutting off the spring perches and then welding the tubes back, so forth. It wasn't that difficult of a job. Awesome kit though, and it worked out really well for this application. Ended up replacing the lollipops with some Del Ring bushings. Really made the difference. And of course, went through the braking system and replaced some wheel studs, some spacers. There's the shot of the carbon fiber hood that came. Took some time, and of course, how I got it home. All right, so for the paintwork, this was one of my inspirations, as well as the famous Jägermeister car. Really like the color scheme of the orange with the black. Hey, this was around the time that the BMW M3 came out with Fire Orange. And this was the color I wanted, so I went to the paint store, but because it was so new, it was stupid expensive. So the next coolest color on the list was the Porsche GT3 RS Orange, and because that color had been around for a while, the guys at the paint store were able to do some code matching, and they came up with the same paint, but far less expensive, and it's called Mack Truck Orange. So that's what I went with. Naturally, I started prepping the car for some paint, masking everything off after cleaning it thoroughly, and give it a final little scrub and sand, any little imperfections where I could. Got it all ready, and then started to spray some paint. And when the roll cage finally came in, I did some test fitting on that, prepped the back seat, actually just deleted it, and painted the cage and installed it. I found some really sweet Sparco Evo XL seats on a local classified ad. Those are awesome seats, and they're fat guy friendly, so I fit fine in them. And you know, a little bit by bit, the car started coming together and looking pretty good. Okay, so now that I got the majority of the aesthetics done, it looked really cool, but definitely needed more power. Like I mentioned earlier, this was the ES, which is the economy version of the E30, never known to be a super powerhouse. So I set out to find an engine. I found an outfit in California that had a sweet little E30, and they were willing to part with the S52. Actually, it was an S50, S52 combination engine that was already in an E30. They were willing to let the whole package go with the transmission. My wife was scheduled to do a triathlon in California around this same area, so it just happened to work out. Loaded up the trailer, we dropped off the trailer at the shop, and we continued on to Santa Cruz. They tore the engine out, put it in the trailer. I paid them cash, and on the way home we went. So as you can see, like everything worked out pretty darn well. Got the engine home, got it in, did some wiring, got it all worked out. Had to replace the tachometer because the tachometer in the ES has a lower red line. But I figured that out, and gosh, the rest is just kind of history. It worked out really, really slick. And as the rest of the story goes, I drove the car for 6 or 7 months, took it to some car shows, had a lot of fun with it. Man, the car was just a driver. It was a lot of fun. A buddy of mine, none other than 801 Greek, Mikey, just kept harassing me. He wanted the car. And if I remember the story right, he sold some snowmobiles, had a bunch of cash in his pocket, and he just caught me on that day where he came over, threw it in my face, and to this day, Mikey still has the car, the E30. Hey folks, I hope you enjoy that little photo show of the old school E30. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for the watch, and give me a like, give me a subscribe, you know, all that fun stuff. We'll catch you on the next one. Take care.